Okay guys, welcome to my art desk. Before we get started on the sketchbook tour, I have an extra little surprise. I ordered some stickers from the wonderful artist Miriam Tilson, and I want to decorate the front of my sketchbook now that I've put a whole bunch of animal drawings in. So I bought... She has such incredible art. I'll put a link down below if you haven't seen Miriam Tilson's work before. But I bought her kintsugi. I don't know the name of it, but in Japanese, kintsugi is, I guess, repair work for pottery, where if something's broken, you piece it back together with molten gold. And so she has a kintsugi person and a bowl there. I think I've got some bonus stickers here. Oh, and a lovely little note. Thank you so much, Miriam. Your stuff is so great. So I don't oh, maybe this is her business card. Oh, it is. Super cool business card. It's as good as quality as a piece of art. And then I also bought a selection, I think, of 3 of her other vinyl stickers, and I think they're all amazing. Sorry, struggling to open them up. So we have the girl with the, I guess, paper boats or origami boats, and the girl with origami birds, and she's been cutting herself and the paper, I guess. And then a person that's, I guess, maybe becoming petrified wood. You'd have to see Miriam's side and listen to her explanations. I think a lot of her work deals with mental health issues, and I find that it's such a fascinating topic, and she just does such beautiful work. But not all of her art is focused on something like that. I know that one of her Inktober series was. So let's try and get these on. Okay, I'm back and I'm so happy with these, and just a reminder that you can find Miriam Tilson at these locations here, and I'll put a link to her YouTube channel, which isn't actually on here, but it's just Miriam Tilson. Now, on with the show. Oh yeah, if you forgot, I'm left-handed, so I spin my sketchbooks upside down and have them open backwards like Japanese-style books. And then this sketchbook, it isn't complete because it's massive, but it's got a lot of drawings in it because of my Alphabet Animal Art series, where, if you don't remember or you're new here, welcome, I'm Christopher, this is my channel. I asked Google for each letter of the alphabet what animal to draw. So whatever the first result is, I would draw that. So I would have typed into Google on this day, animal starting with A, and Google told me to draw an aardvark. I used my cool massive Crink paint alcohol marker, acrylic paint alcohol marker, to do the red background. The line work was with Zebra Sensations brush pens, I think, but I'm not sure. And then for the very first time, I used these Amsterdam acrylic metallic markers in silver and golds. I have pale gold and deep gold. They come in a 3 set and they're so amazing. I'll put a link down below. This is something like 75-pound paper, so it's only a little bit thicker than copy paper, but it holds up beautifully for these acrylic paint markers. And so yeah, I did a quick kind of pop art, I guess, style aardvark. My goal at the beginning of this sketch series was to develop a unique style, or kind of refine my style for drawing animals quickly. And that's the key here. I was trying to draw quickly. So this is A for aardvark. Then Google starts to throw me curveballs. It gave me B for babirusa. They're deer pigs from, I think, Indonesia somewhere. I used soft pastels for the first time for the main pig, and alcohol markers and brush pens for the circle and the background pigs. If you're new here, you might have already begun to see the circle motifs. Every single one of my alphabet animal art drawings are done with these circle motifs. So I was really happy with how this turned out for my first attempt with soft pastels. Another goal for this sketchbook and this alphabet animal art series was to push myself in terms of media and materials. I'm most used to probably using watercolors, and so I was trying out a bunch of different things here and trying to get quite a bit of use out of my alcohol markers and these amazing new metallic paint markers. The alcohol markers that I use for most of this are these sorts of cheapo Touch 5 markers. They're quite terrible, but they're quite cheap. They're terrible because they bleed so much. They just bleed outwards. So no matter what line work you put down, they're gonna bleed across it, and it's very frustrating. But if you are, I don't know, you can kind of get used to it. Anyway, I also use for this one, by the way, this is the long tour, and I'll have a shorter tour with just music over it if you just want to see the images really quickly. But I thought it might be fun to explain them all. So a lot of this was done with these guys. I don't know if you can get them outside of Japan. They're called Pilot Gel markers. I think they are like gelatos. I think they're like gelato crayons that are water soluble, and these are also all glittery. So I don't know how well the glitter effect shows up, but I found them really hard to work with on this paper, or just hard to work with in general. And so I only used the Nemeiri colors or gel markers for the baby camel and the mother camel. And then I switched to alcohol markers for the daddy camel. I also used a lot of Muji gel pens that my husband picked up in New York City, which are things like these. I got the 0.5 gel pens, and I already had some from when I lived in Japan as well. And then some black line work, because that's, I think, pretty consistent for my style, at least for drawing quickly. You also see this is the first time I draw a full family. I drew a few animals here. At first I was only going to draw one animal, and then a number of times I end up drawing whole families. Okay, next was D for Dachshund, and I learnt from someone who commented on my videos that I think Americans call them Dachshunds or something, but Australians call them Dachshunds, sausage dogs, or in America, wiener dogs. And I really took that to the limit by stretching him out. Found this one so hard to do. I forget all the different materials that I tried on them, but I know that I started with something that didn't work, which is these Charisma line multicolored crayons. And my friend in Japan, because I used to live in Japan, she gave them to me as a gift. So I'm not even quite sure where she got them from, but I think I've seen similar things in some other stores like Loft and Tokyo Hands in Japan. Probably you can get them all sorts of places. They're interesting to work with. They just didn't work so well on this paper. They weren't pigmented enough for me anyway. So then instead I went over, I tried some other stuff, but I went over with these big markers that I got in a lucky bag on New Year's morning in Japan a couple of years ago. If you don't know lucky bags, fukubukuro, that's how you say them in Japanese. On the first couple of days of the new year in Japan, many stores give these lucky bags, these bags that they put all sorts of products in. Often it's for clothes and fashion, but sometimes it's toys, or in this case art supplies. and the bags are incredibly discounted. You just don't know what you're going to get. So for about $45 USD, I got this big acrylic gouache paint set, these markers, 2 sketchbooks, a photo frame, 30-pack of Van Gogh color pencils, a whole range of different things that had a value of like $300 or $400 total. So many things. Oh yeah, even my cool little scissors here that I love. They're so sharp, and they even have this little hippo protector. So this is my little dachshund or sausage dog or wiener dog. And then we have E for eagle. Tried to go super fast this day. I don't think I was feeling it. And I kind of like what I came up with, especially because it's so shiny and metallic. We have F for falcon here. And on this day, I don't really like this piece, but on this day I used paints that were just sitting left over in this porcelain palette and maybe some other palette, so that I wasn't wasting paints. And almost all of it, I think actually all of the painting, was done with leftover gouache and watercolor paints. There's some gold ink in there as well that was left over that fortunately reactivated in the water, and some of the paint is shiny from that, but some of it is because they're Daniel Smith Primatex and some of those glitter. So for leftover paints, I think it worked out okay. Next we have G for penguin. It's G for Galapagos penguins. And I decided to draw 2 of them this day, and I really, really like how this turned out. Very pop arty, lots of alcohol markers, and a bit of this silver acrylic marker. I use these so much during this series, and I love them. They are so good. And there's just so much paint left. So these are good to work on for a long time if you get them. Okay, next we have H for hammerhead shark, but I saw this reference picture with this cute doggy dressed up as a hammerhead shark, so I couldn't resist drawing a hammerhead shark dog. And I really love how the background gold circle turned out. And you guessed it, it's from the acrylic marker. I did a lot of this with graphite and charcoal, and I don't often work in those, so I'm really happy with how it turned out. Yeah, I think it worked out great. Okay, HI for ibis. This is the Australian white ibis. I'm really proud of this piece because I really messed with the reference photo and got creative with it and decided to make them going out for a formal night on the town in their best dress. If you watch the original video, it's because often these birds get a bad rap in Australia. They're often called bin chickens or trash turkeys because they're often hanging around in parks near the rubbish bins or trash cans and picking out leftover food or trying to snatch it out of your hand. So I love these birds, so I wanted to class them up, and I just love how it turned out. Next up is the materials from my Sketchbox grab bag, which included these Tombow dual brush marker pens. That's how I did these 2 animals. It's a J for Jabiru and a J for Jackal. I got 2 animals this day. I think it's for the first time. Yeah. Okay, so what happened was some days, not just this day, but some days when I put animals starting with, and in this case, animals starting with J, Google gave me the word of one animal and put the image of a completely different animal next to it. It makes totally no sense. And so on those days, I just drew both because I didn't know what to do. I'm really happy with how I used these for the first time. There's also a little bit of pastel pencil. I got that in the grab bag, Koh-i-Noor one, and also an alcohol marker, one that I hadn't tried before. Anyway, and then it has a shine to it or a pearlescent covering to it because I also received liquid metal that's pearlescent and metallic in pearl white. I really love it, so I should experiment more with that as well. K for kakapo is next. It's a New Zealand bird. It's a flightless parrot. I believe it's the only flightless parrot in the world. I drew a family of them, the dad, the mum, and the 2 eggs. They are awesome. They're almost extinct. There's less than 200 left in the world, but there are recovery programs in place, so hopefully the people working hard to save them will be able to manage it. I'm really happy with the style of these and how they turned out. I used alcohol markers and the Muji gel pens and a little bit of gold, of course. I don't know how well the gold shiny bit shows up on top of the yellow, but it's very gold highlights. And then next, I initially wanted to do Alpha Lima in graphite, that's right. But I really struggled with it. It looked really ugly, and I think that's a good lesson that I learnt along this, or was reinforced during this sketchbook journey or challenge, that if something goes wrong, you can switch materials, switch mediums, or try something new, and you can usually save it. I don't know about you, but this is one of my personal favorites for the whole alphabet series. I think it's one of the most interesting and unusual pieces that I came up with. And it's because I switched to having to use soft pastels, and then I used Japanese brush pen, and then I outlined it with a gold marker and black ink, and even used some of these outline markers for the tree branch. I don't know, I'm just really happy with how it turned out. It's really dark, unusual, a little creepy. Okay, next is another penguin. So element, it's M. And so it's M for penguin because it's a macaroni penguin. I had a completely different idea in mind when I first started it, and so it's not central. I changed my idea. This penguin's central if the circle went here, but I move it, and I end up doing a family again with the Aurora Borealis here, and the Antarctic ice shelf, lots of alcohol markers, and some metallic silver. I also, I think, messed up because I hadn't been doing any thumbnails, or very few thumbnails. Actually, I did do one for the kakapos, but for almost all of these, I haven't done thumbnails. I've just jumped straight in and started drawing. And my advice would be, if you're wanting to get better at art, one of the best things you can do is start doing quick, rough thumbnails. So I'll show you a little bit of another sketchbook. I hope to do a full tour of this sketchbook one day. First of all, you can see I start off doing these full, complete sorts of pieces in it. It's a Moleskine just notebook. It's not even the proper art book, so the paper is so flimsy. But I start getting to a point where I start doing some thumbnails. So this is a series of thumbnails for the letter Y and Z, and don't want to show everything, so I'll just try to find a couple. Here is V for vampire bat thumbnails, and then X thumbnails. So you can see as time goes on, I start doing thumbnails more and more, and I started timing them, and for this animal series, I was able to usually get a thumbnail out in 60 seconds, and it makes all the difference. So I super recommend. I hope you can see those. Sorry if you can't. I super recommend doing thumbnails. Okay, macaroni penguins. And then we have N for narbalek. It's the Indigenous Australian word for the rock wallaby. And so I did some Indigenous art motifs in the background, and of course lots of metallics. O for ocelot. Again, I was kind of getting in a groove where I just found it fastest and easiest, and I was enjoying it most at this stage to now use alcohol markers and the gold acrylic paint markers, or gold of some kind. And I'm really happy with how this style developed and what I got out of this style. So I think for fast drawing, this is probably going to be my default go-to as well. Also, is it here? And maybe even here, yeah. I also start doing, I forget when I start doing it, but I start doing these really long eyelashes that I think a number of artists do of some kind, but I like the style that I developed with them, and I just think it's really cute. I don't do it for the ocelot. I wanted something slightly more realistic for the ocelot, but for many of them I do. Like this guy, which is P for Paddymellon. Paddymellon is another macropod in the kangaroo sort of group or family, and really love how he turned out. Alcohol markers and metallic paints. We have Q for Quail. I blanked for a second there. We have Q for Quail, another family, the daddy and his little baby's about to hatch here. I really love how this one turned out as well. Simple but effective, and I think I adapted the reference photos really well from it. R for Rabbit, alcohol markers and gold, and a flower. I think it's... actually, of course, I've done some plants in some other ones, but this was, I think, the first one that really seems to feature something other than an animal. And then, bit by bit, I start doing a bunch of different backgrounds. S for Saber-toothed Tiger. It was my first time using oil pastels. And I think they're mostly in this box here. This cute little box was a chocolate box I received from someone in Japan. I think maybe my husband bought it for me. So what have we got here? Yeah, I've got my oil pastels in here. The Sennelier are expensive ones. Are they Sennelier? Here. These are the Sennelier oil pastels, and in the Sketchbox we also received some Van Gogh oil pastels, and the Van Gogh ones are okay, but just getting a few of the Sennelier oil pastels would be so worth it because they're amazing if you enjoy using oil pastels. I found that they were fun, a little messy, probably not my favorite medium, but interesting to work with. And so I did a saber-toothed tiger. It's my only, I think, extinct, very extinct animal that I received. And then we have T for orangutan. It's the Tapanuli orangutan and also tangfish. Interesting combo that Google decided to give me there. So I decided to put the Tapanuli orangutan sitting on the coral reef, and it's one of the first times I did a full background. I really, really, really like how it turned out. This one was very weird, another unusual primate. It is U for Wakari. It's pronounced kind of like it's W, but it starts with a U. So Wakari are South American primates that are very unusual. You can watch the video for it. I talk all about it, but I use alcohol markers. I tried doing some stippling and pointillism effects, but it doesn't really work out, and I cover most of it up. And then liner pens and some white gel pen. We have V for Vampire Bat. Really different style for this one. Lots of these Artline Xylene markers, and also a bunch of the metallic paint markers, the emphasis acrylic paint markers, and I really like this style. If you didn't see the video or you can't tell, it's based very, very loosely on the Van Gogh Starry Night sort of background. That is the end of the alphabet for this sketchbook, because for the last 4 letters, I think it is, W, X, Y, and Z, yeah, for the last 4 letters, I switched to using fine papers of different kinds. I got a little bit sick of using this sketchbook. It's still fun, I'm still going to use it, but I'm going to use it from now on for quick sketches and practice drawings, not completed pieces, because even though my original intention was to do these fast, they ended up becoming fairly completed pieces. And so, let's put that away. We move on for W for Wallaby, and the other reason why I switched papers here is because I received a Palettefull Packs box, and it had these amazing materials in it, including this Canson Bristol board, and these guys. There are some others as well, but they are brush marker pro pens. They are kind of like an India ink and a Copic marker combined, and if you look at the window for it, oh, it used to flow. Doesn't it flow anymore? Oh yeah. So the ink will flow up and down. Very, very juicy. You can put them tip to tip and get a series of blended colors, kind of like chameleon marker pens, but maybe even better, I think, in my opinion. And so I did this wallaby, W for wallaby, using them, and some black liner pens that also came in the box. WX, we have X for sloth and some sort of bird. I received scientific names for both from Google in a weird mix. It gave me a scientific genus of this bird and then showed me a picture of this sloth, and it belongs to superorder Zenithara or something. I forget the name of it. And then Y. By the way, all of these last ones from U, is it? From U onwards, I did collabs with. So you can check out April Rain's Fine Art for the Wakari collab, Queer V Art for the V for Vampire Bat collab, W collab I did with Pan-Dimensional Space Zombie, but she got a different animal, a Wolverine, I believe. X one, maybe I didn't do a collab with someone. And then Y, sorry if I did, by the way, I'm often blank when I'm filming videos. If you've ever filmed videos before, it's like your brain just turns to mush for some reason. I don't get it. I don't know why, but it does. At least I'm not as nervous as I used to be when I film. Then we have Y for yak. It was a Tibetan yak that I received. I do my first watercolor series, piece for the series here, and I collab with Art by Marsha Furman, and she also got the exact same kind of yak. So check out her collab video as well. It's really cool. And I decided to make it the third in my Animals and Countries series. I've done one from Algeria with a man and a fennec fox back in Inktober. One from Myanmar with, from Myanmar with a lady with brass rings on her neck, and also green peacock. And now this one from Tibet with this boy or girl, I'm not quite sure, or maybe they're intersex, or I don't know. And I'm really happy with how the yak turned out. I feel like I should fix these mountains a little bit, but overall I'm quite happy with it. And a gold watercolor border. Use my new Finetex here, maybe for the first time, I can't remember. So many new materials in this series, it's hard to keep track of all the things that I did. And then we have the finale piece, Z for zebra, or zebra. I forget what my accent is anymore. How I speak Australian is just kind of all blurred with other countries now. This was a massive open collab. So many people joined in. I strongly recommend that you check out the full video and then check out everyone in the playlist. But thank you to everyone that did join in. It really meant a lot for me, and all the support that I got during this series, it was so great. I decided to use every single black liner pen that I own on this one. And instead of just doing a zebra, I researched a whole bunch of animals that have zebra in their name. So this is the Australian zebra finch. This is a zebra moray eel. This is a zebra mantis fish. This is a zebra beetle. This is a zebra swallowtail butterfly, and so on. And so I put each of them in a circle because my whole series has had animals in circles, and then they're all within the large circle that the zebra's leaping through. And I really, really love how it turned out. And I think I was quite lucky because my thumbnails were not very good for this one. Where are they? I don't know if it'll show up on camera well, but I just did 2 thumbnails and then didn't do anything like it, where it was just a zebra in a center with then circles around it. And then suddenly this idea popped into my head and I went with it instead and just hoped that it would work out and look okay. And I really love it. The circles here are all filled with different metallics, Finetech ones, acrylic marker ones, a whole range of different ones. And some of them are just black ink. So this is the full alphabet from Google. So thank you, Google, I guess, even though you put me through a lot. I think it's so interesting to look back on a challenge and to also just challenge yourself. If you've never done it before, try setting yourself a challenge. You might be surprised. You also might find it useful to share it with someone or talk to someone about it. I had set many challenges for myself in the past and usually failed them. And in a way, I failed this challenge too, in some way, because my original plan was to complete this challenge by the first week of February. And it took me to the last day of February to complete it. But I think that that's totally cool, and I'm happy to have failed it, I guess, by taking longer. In my head, the main thing that mattered to me was it's finished. I often these days think of that Jake Parker mantra of finished, not perfect. And if that means taking a little bit more time than it should, so be it. You might even find it useful if you don't make videos of your artwork to consider filming them and putting them on YouTube, or just filming them for yourself. You might find that motivates you more. I certainly get motivated from doing that, and a large part of that is thanks to all of you guys. It might sound really sappy, but it's such a motivation, and it pushes me forward so much when I get to read cool comments, see people interacting and responding to my art, and it just really encourages me to push forward and to make more stuff. And so thank you so much for all of the support that I've been getting and continue to get. It really, really means so much to me. And it's probably the main reason I've actually finished this challenge. A little bit late, but I finished it. So there are 26, or if you've counted here, another 13 on top of that, animals that I've done. And then for some of those days, I ended up drawing a family. So I wouldn't be surprised if I ended up drawing, over 50 different animals during this challenge. But I at least did 26 finished pieces, and I'm really happy with what I learned in terms of developing a drawing style, exploring different media, actually using some of my art materials rather than just collecting them and storing them. I know probably many of us have that problem, and just really trying to push myself as an artist. Thank you so much for watching this tour. Just a reminder, if you are interested, I will show the speed tour flick through with some music overlaid as a separate video. And I hope you'll look forward to the next challenges and adventures that I go on. I've got a few ideas, but nothing fully set in stone in terms of a big challenge at the moment. So stay tuned. I definitely have some other videos coming up though. So thank you so much as always for watching, and take care guys. Bye.